Hey, this is Richard Campbell from .NET Rocks, and I'm here at TechEd 2012 in Orlando, and I found Tim Huckaby. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Richard. How are you?
I'm great. So tell me a little bit about the sessions you've been doing.
Well, I have gray hair, right? So I only have to do one session.
You and me both, my friend.
and I get to do it right after the keynote.
Nice.
So for the rest of the week, I get to play. But you know my passion is the natural user interface, right?
Mm-hmm.
Touching it, waving at it, speaking to it, ultimately thinking at software. And we're a decade away from that. But
right.
We are, right in the era of touch, right? Well, one could say it's a normal way to use a computer now.
Well, you watch the 3-year-olds, right? Try to touch anything.
In my case, it would be the females in my life who are a little older than that. But as painful it is for me to say this, having worked with Microsoft for close to 25 years,
mm-hmm.
It wasn't until Steve Jobs, like the Lion King, took that magical $800 device, and everyone went, yes.
That's what I want.
And it made touch a prevalent way. Who would have thought that they'd make a touch a prevalent way to use a browser,
mm-hmm.
and an effective way?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they did an awesome job. My wife, who you well know,
mm-hmm.
uses that darn iPad thing very effectively, and now it's second nature to her.
Now it's natural.
Yeah, kind of like, and you have gray hair too, but you remember when they told us we have to take our right hand off the keyboard and grab this mouse thing.
Yeah.
And it was the most unnatural thing in the
crazy.
world, right? Like, why would I do that? I'm a machine gun.
Yeah.
And now it's second nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue that touch is now second nature. And
breaking literally a 30-year legacy of keyboard and mouse.
Right. And let's be honest. All software isn't going to be touch-driven, right?
No.
CRUD is a perfect example where touch is still in its infancy.
I don't see the keyboard going away, but do you think the mouse is going to go away? Won't that be replaced with a touchpad of some
In many use cases, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've already seen it, right?
Yeah.
The iPad, right? Windows 8.
Mm-hmm.
The work Telerik's doing in Windows 8 controls. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
designed for touch from the outset, right? It's going to be a prevalent, a norm, the way we use software, which is good, right?
So
nothing wrong with
let me
that.
push it a step further. Is touch just a stopping point on the path to gesture? Isn't gesture a more advanced version of touch?
Yeah, you know my passion, don't you? That's a leading question. Yeah, so the next genre of touch, or of the natural user interface, is gesture and voice,
mm-hmm.
right? And with that magical Connect for Windows device, which is arguably the coolest thing at Microsoft right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the only cool thing at Microsoft right now. And not for every use case. You're not going to be going like this to TIM, right?
Right.
But in many use cases, data visualization, some industry stuff, like our touchless operating room app, where the doctor takes his hands, picks up and gets an X-ray and
really can't touch things because they're sterile.
Sterile, right?
Yeah,
So right now they lose the sterility thing. They have to walk out of the room and then they re-scrub and all that if they have to go see an X-ray or something like that. And there's plenty of use cases where touch and voice, and as you know, voice is getting better and better too.
I think that's one of the least understood features of the Connect, that it has an unbelievable microphone array.
Yeah, multi-spectrum. So technically, if the Connect is tracking you,
mm-hmm.
like the Connect will natively track two people.
Right.
Right, skeletal. But if it's tracking me, if my software says, hey, track me, and you're there,
mm-hmm.
and we both speak at it, it can pluck my voice out of there.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then we engineer it farther, like... So in our kiosk, in the Actus kiosk thing, if you pick a video and it starts playing, the audio is playing out of the computer,
right?
Technically interfering with what Connect's listening to. So we have to cancel that out in an engineering type way. So I guess the point is the innovation's there. The devices are just going to get better and cheaper, right? For the last decade we've been talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Connect is $250, I think.
Yeah, $200. It's crazy cheap.
42-inch HD Windows 7 capable or certified monitors.
Mm-hmm.
You imagine Visual Studio on 42 inches, right?
Yep.
Touch capable are like $1,500 right now. That means $300 next year.
Right.
The 84s are coming. 84-inch screen. That might be a little big for Visual Studio.
But this was the story. Doesn't Balmer have one of those hanging in his office?
Oh, does he?
Gigantic mega tablet.
I could tell you that the Samsung one is about $25,000 because
Okay.
we have a project with one of these things. So I'm sure Mr. Ballmer can afford a $25,000 monitor for Visual Studio.
That makes him happy.
but following my point, maybe that $25,000 next year is $12,000,
right.
and after that, all this consumerization is great for us, right?
Drives prices down fast.
Right, yeah.
So, and then after that, then we're going to do the brain thing?
Well, yeah, we're friends, so we've been talking about this neural thing for a long time.
Yeah.
There's that amazing company, Emotive, that makes the Epic headset. And so here's the use case. When I talk to audiences, I go from, I do the keyboard metaphor and then the mouse, and then I go to touch and show what we can do, and then we go to connect, and then we talk about the future. And the use case is I'm in LAX. The airport I have to travel through is Los Angeles International Airport, and our kiosk is awesome, multi-touch, very functional. But at LAX, you don't want to touch anything, right? It is a disgusting place.
Just dipping yourself in Purell.
So what we do is, I fly there and I look at the board like everybody else, and it's a big airport. So I wait literally 2 minutes for my flight to scroll down.
Right.
Me and 30 people just like, So a very legitimate use case would be either going like this with my hands or waving, or just saying United, Denver, and boom, my gate comes up.
Right.
Right? That would not be a use for the Epic headset. You're not going to put a headset on in LAX and think United Denver and have it come up. But there are some non-conscious and conscious use cases that are very effective. There's a video out on YouTube of a kid wearing the Epic headset. He's a paraplegic, and he's steering his wheelchair with his mind.
That's pretty
He's
awesome.
not doing it well, right? He's smashing into things and stuff, but the fact they're in the infancy of that's a great use case, right? There are gazillions of people out there, well, millions of people who are totally sound of mind, but have just lost control of the physical parts of their body, like multiple sclerosis, quadriplegia, paraplegia. There's ton. That's my dream, to build software for these types of people.
That's pretty cool.
But that would be like a conscious interface. A non-conscious interface, a use case would be like the engineers at Internology, many of whom you know.
Yes.
Yeah, they've been in DNR many times, right? They put on headphones and listen to music while they're slaying code.
Yeah.
It's the genre of these programmers. That's what they do. I can't do that. It's distracting for me, but they do that. If the computer system could be watching what they're thinking about the music,
right,
it could build a playlist. That is a magical use case, worth a fortune, probably something Apple would do, not Microsoft, right? But there's a non-conscious type of way of a neural-based interface that would be pretty compelling.
I even look at the Kinect as, especially if we start putting it on regular desktop machines, the non-conscious reactions to software that you're going to get, like that SDK 1.5 with the facial mapping, just being able to see people's reactions to software rather than command.
Isn't that interesting how they snuck that facial?
Just slid that in there.
Right. I'd never seen Microsoft do that before. Which means a year-long beta program, and right before they shipped, they snuck in that macro mode and that facial recognition API. So you could draw conclusions of what they're up to. They do live in the Windows team.
For sure.
Right? And we could speculate also that, the Kinect shipped for Xbox like over 2 years ago. One could speculate that team hasn't been sitting on their hands doing nothing.
I'm just guessing.
Right. So it goes back to better, cheaper. Right? I don't think it's a big stretch to imagine a Kinect device in a smartphone.
Yeah.
Right, and certainly in our notebooks and tablets.
And in monitors in general.
And then I think we were talking the other night with a few cocktails in us about the problem. And the problem is the Kinect is infrared.
Right.
So it doesn't work outside.
Yeah, certain lighting conditions are problematic.
Right. So there's an engineering challenge for that team to get a 3D camera that actually works outside.
Less environmentally sensitive.
I'm guessing they're figuring that out.
But
it wouldn't be infrared, right?
Yeah, I'm going to grab us onto this idea of the future is unconscious mappings of human behaviors and how it reflects in our software. It's no longer just about command and control, it's about reading reactions.
Right, and my joke on stage when I talk about that, of course, is the human male thinks about that thing 1,500 times a day on average, right? So that kind of screws up the way you use software.
We may not want this.
Right. But yeah, definitely realistic within the decade to have real neural interfaces.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Tim, thanks for talking.
Oh, always a pleasure. Thank you.